"You owe me that money," my mom snapped, gripping the microphone like it was a weapon. Her voice echoed through the restaurant's private room, cutting through the birthday chatter. "Hand over your daughter's college fund. I carried you for 9 months. I raised you. Now it's time to pay me back." Laughter rippled through the crowd, nervous, uncertain laughter that didn't know if this was a joke or not. I froze in my seat, my fork halfway to my mouth, the piece of tiramisu trembling on the tines. Then the lawyer stood up. "My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I'm 36 years old." I know what you're thinking. How did I end up at my own mother's birthday party, being publicly shamed for refusing to hand over my daughter's college fund? How does a family gathering turn into a courtroom drama with dessert plates still on the table? Let me back up. I'm a single mom. I work as a healthcare administrator at a mid-sized clinic in the suburbs. Nothing glamorous, nothing that's going to make me rich, but steady, reliable. The kind of job that keeps the lights on and the fridge stocked and lets me sleep at night knowing I can handle whatever comes next. I have one daughter. Her name is Emma, and she's 17. She's brilliant, not in the way parents always say their kids are brilliant, but actually genuinely smart. She's anxious, though, worries about everything. Worries about grades, about college applications, about whether she's good enough, whether she'll make it, whether the future is even possible for someone like her. I know where she gets that anxiety. Growing up in my family meant learning early that love came with conditions. You were valuable if you were useful. You were celebrated if you made them look good. And if you didn't fit into one of those categories, you learned to stay quiet and stay out of the way. My brother Daniel was always the prized child, the one they always praised. The golden boy who could do no wrong, star athlete in high school, business degree from a good school, married to a woman our mother actually approved of. 2 kids who called her grandma in that sing-song voice she loved. I was the other one, the one who got pregnant at 19, the one whose boyfriend left before the baby was even born, the one who dropped out of college for 5 years to work double shifts at a diner so I could afford daycare and diapers, and the kind of life that didn't feel like punishment for making one mistake. I went back to school eventually, finished my degree online while Emma slept, got the admin job, built something stable, but to my family I was still the screw-up, the cautionary tale. The one who needed help, needed saving, needed to be grateful for every scrap of attention they threw my way. I learned to budget down to the penny. I learned to save in silence. I learned to shield Emma from the chaos while managing the endless tide of family expectations. Show up to this, bring a dish to that, smile for the photo, don't make waves, don't ask for anything. Don't complain. And I learned to keep promises. When Emma was 10, I sat her down and told her she was going to college. I didn't care what it took. I didn't care how many extra shifts I had to pick up, or how many years I had to drive the same falling-apart car. She was going to get the education I didn't, and she was going to do it without drowning in debt. I started the college fund that year. Every paycheck, something went in, tax refunds, birthday money. The occasional overtime bonus. I didn't talk about it much, didn't want to jinx it, didn't want my family asking questions, didn't want anyone thinking I had money to spare when they inevitably needed something. By the time Emma turned 17, that fund had grown to $87,000. Not enough for 4 years at a private university, but enough for a solid state school. Enough for her to graduate without crushing loans. Enough to give her options I never had. I wasn't rich or glamorous. I didn't have a big house or a fancy car or a closet full of designer clothes. But I had something they didn't expect: patience, receipts, and a promise I refused to break. If you've ever quietly sacrificed for your kids while family demanded more, hit that subscribe button right now. I want to hear your story in the comments. You're not invisible and your choices matter. Let me know you're here. Click hype or like. Let's go. The party was my mother's idea, of course. 60th birthday. Big milestone. She wanted it to be special. Her words, which meant she wanted it to be expensive and public and full of people who would tell her how wonderful she was. She chose Marcello's, an upscale Italian place with white tablecloths and wine lists that required a second mortgage. She reserved the private room in the back, the one with the exposed brick wall and the string lights and the long table that could seat 40 people. She invited everyone. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, friends from her book club, neighbors, people from her church. She made a guest list like she was planning a wedding. I got the invitation 6 weeks in advance, formal cardstock with gold embossing. You are cordially invited to celebrate Barbara Mitchell's 60th birthday. I RSVP'd yes because saying no wasn't an option. I bought a card. I bought a gift, a cashmere scarf she'd never wear but would make the right impression when she opened it in front of people. I arranged for Emma to stay at her best friend's house, because these events were always long and always uncomfortable, and I didn't want her sitting through hours of forced small talk and passive-aggressive comments about my life choices. The party started at 6 on a Saturday. I arrived at 5:55 because showing up late to a family event was basically a crime. The room was already half full, people milling around with drinks, the smell of garlic bread heavy in the air, a playlist of my mother's favorite Motown hits playing softly from hidden speakers. Daniel was there, of course, standing near the bar with his wife Stephanie. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than my car payment. He saw me, raised his glass in a mock toast, and smirked. I ignored him. I found my seat, third table from the front, tucked between Aunt Diane and a cousin whose name I could never remember. Not the head table, not close enough to matter, just close enough to be seen. Dinner was served at 6:30. Salad, pasta, chicken marsala, bread baskets that kept coming. The wine flowed. People laughed. My mother held court at the head table, glowing in a navy dress and pearls, soaking up every compliment like sunlight. At 7:45, the speeches started. Uncle Rob went first. Talked about how Barbara was the glue that held the family together, how she'd always been there for everyone, how lucky we all were to have her. Aunt Diane went next. A story about my mother helping her through a tough divorce 20 years ago, about sisterhood and strength and unconditional love. Daniel went third. Of course he did. He stood up, microphone in hand, and launched into a 5-minute tribute about how our mother had always believed in him, always supported his dreams, always been his biggest cheerleader. She taught me the value of family, he said, his voice smooth and practiced. She taught me that when you love someone, you do whatever it takes to show them. You give everything you have. The room applauded. He sat down and Stephanie kissed his cheek. I felt my stomach turn. Then my mother stood up. She didn't need anyone to hand her the microphone. She'd kept it at her table, ready and waiting. She tapped it twice, and the room fell silent. "Thank you all so much for being here," she said, her voice warm and gracious. "This means the world to me. 60 years, can you believe it?" Laughter, applause. "I've been so blessed," she continued. "Blessed with family, with friends, with a life full of love. And tonight, surrounded by all of you, I feel so grateful." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. Then it landed on me. "But you know," she said, her tone shifting just slightly, "there's one thing that would make this night truly perfect." My chest tightened. "Lauren," she said, smiling. "Sweetheart, would you stand up for a moment?" Every head in the room turned toward me. I stood slowly, my legs shaking, my hands gripping the edge of the table. "Lauren is my daughter," my mother said, still smiling, still holding the microphone like a weapon. "She's worked so hard over the years. She's built a life for herself and my granddaughter, Emma. And I'm proud of her." A few people clapped politely. "But tonight," she continued, "I want to ask her for something that would mean the world to me. Oh, God." "Lauren has a college fund for Emma," my mother said, her voice bright and casual, like she was asking me to pass the salt. $87,000. She's been saving for years. My heart stopped. "And I think," my mother said, turning to face me fully now, "that it would be a beautiful gesture, a truly meaningful gift, if Lauren gave that money to me." As a birthday present. The room went silent. Someone coughed. I mean, think about it, my mother continued, her smile never wavering. I carried her for 9 months. I raised her. I sacrificed everything so she could have a good life. And now it's her turn. It's her turn to show me that same love, that same sacrifice. She paused. So, Lauren, she said, her voice syrupy and expectant, what do you say? Will you honor me with that gift? I couldn't breathe. Every eye in the room was on me, waiting, judging. Aunt Diane leaned over and whispered, just say yes, honey. Don't make a scene. At the head table, Daniel was grinning. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Come on, sweetheart, my mother said, her tone sharpening just a little. It's a simple question. Will you give me that money, yes or no? My hands were shaking. I thought about Emma. About her sitting in her room, filling out scholarship applications, calculating financial aid packages, worrying herself sick about whether she'd be able to afford the schools she dreamed of attending. I thought about every shift I'd worked, every dollar I'd saved, every promise I'd made. And I thought about my mother, standing there with a microphone and a smile, asking me to hand it all over in front of 40 people because she thought I owed her. I took a breath. No, I said. The word came out quiet, but it landed like a gunshot. My mother's smile froze. I'm sorry, I said, louder now. But that money is Emma's. It's for her education. It's her future. And the answer is no. The silence in the room was deafening. My mother's face went white, then red. You can't be serious, she said, her voice shaking. I am, I said. Lauren, she snapped, I'm your mother. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me, by saying no in front of everyone. It's not about repaying you, I said, my voice steady now. It's about keeping a promise to my daughter. You're being selfish, my mother hissed. No, I said, I'm being a parent. She stared at me, her eyes blazing. Someone at the next table whispered something I couldn't hear. Uncle Rob cleared his throat and said, Come on, Lauren, don't embarrass your mother like this. It's her birthday. Seriously, Daniel chimed in, leaning back in his chair. You can't just let her have this one thing. I looked around the room, at the faces staring at me, at the judgment, at the disbelief, and then I looked at my mother. I'm sorry, I said again, but no. For a moment, I thought she was going to scream. Instead, she set the microphone down with a sharp click and said, very quietly, Get out. Mom, I said get out. I grabbed my purse and walked out of that room with my head high and my heart pounding. Behind me, I heard the murmur of voices rising like a wave. And as I stepped into the parking lot, my phone buzzed with the first text. Aunt Diane, you just ruined her night. I hope you're proud of yourself. The fallout started immediately. By the time I got home that night, I had 17 text messages, 4 voicemails, and 3 Facebook notifications. None of them were kind. Aunt Diane's message was just the beginning. Uncle Rob, really disappointed in you, Lauren. Family is supposed to come first. Cousin Jessica, can't believe you said no. In front of everyone, that was cruel. Stephanie, Daniel's wife, your mother is heartbroken. Hope you can live with yourself. I sat on my couch in the dark, phone in my lap, reading message after message, and felt something inside me crack. Was I wrong? Was I selfish? Should I have just said yes? I picked up my phone and almost called my mother, almost apologized, almost said I'd reconsidered. Then I saw Emma's college acceptance letter sitting on the kitchen counter, early acceptance to her top choice, contingent on financial aid and her ability to pay the remainder. I put the phone down. Thanksgiving was 6 weeks away. Every year my mother hosted. It was tradition. The whole family gathered at her house. 20, sometimes 30 people crammed into her dining room and living room, folding tables set up in the hallway, kids running around, football on TV. I'd been going since I was born. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I got a text from Daniel. Daniel, hey, just FYI, Mom's keeping Thanksgiving small this year. Immediate family only. You're not invited. I stared at the message. Me, are you serious? Daniel, dead serious. She doesn't want you there. You made your choice. I called him. He answered on the third ring, his voice casual. "What's up? You can't be serious," I said. "She's uninviting me from Thanksgiving." "She's hurt, Lauren," he said. "What did you expect?" "I expected her to act like an adult," I snapped. "I didn't do anything wrong," he laughed. "You refused to give her the money in front of everyone. You humiliated her." "She asked me to hand over my daughter's college fund," I said, my voice shaking. "That's not a reasonable request." "It's her birthday," Daniel said. "It was one night." "You couldn't just make her happy by giving away $87,000, by showing her you care." I closed my eyes. "Daniel, that money is for Emma." "Emma's 17, he said. "She can get scholarships. She can get loans. Mom is 60, she's not getting any younger." "Don't you think she deserves to enjoy her life? With my daughter's college fund?" "With a gift from her daughter," he corrected. "But whatever, you've made your position clear, so has she. You're not coming to Thanksgiving, deal with it." He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling the ground shift under me. That night I checked the family group chat, the one we used to coordinate holidays and birthdays and events. My name was gone. I'd been removed. 3 days later, Aunt Diane posted on Facebook. I didn't see it at first. I'd been avoiding social media, avoiding the internet entirely, trying to focus on work and Emma and keeping my head above water. But then a coworker, someone who was friends with Aunt Diane, pulled me aside in the break room and asked, very gently, if I was okay. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me. Aunt Diane's post was short, vague enough to maintain plausible deniability. Specific enough that anyone who knew our family would know exactly who she was talking about. Some daughters forget where they came from. They get a little success, a little stability, and suddenly they think they're too good to help the people who raised them. Ungrateful doesn't even cover it. Praying for wisdom and humility for those who need it most. 43 likes, 27 comments. I scrolled through them, my stomach churning. So true. Family should always come first. "I know exactly who you're talking about. Disgusting behavior. Your sister deserves so much better. Some people only care about themselves." One comment from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years actually named me. Lauren should be ashamed. After everything Barbara did for her, I closed the app. My hands were shaking. That night I got a message from an old high school friend. "Hey, saw your aunt's post. You okay?" I didn't know how to answer that. Me, not really. "Friend, what happened?" I typed out the whole story. The party, the demand, the fallout. She read it and responded immediately. "Friend, that's insane. You did the right thing. Don't let them make you doubt that." I wanted to believe her. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see were those comments. Those likes. That public declaration that I was selfish, ungrateful, wrong. The call from Daniel came late, almost 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Hey," he said, his voice soft, almost kind. "Got a minute? What do you want, Daniel?" "I want to help," he said. I didn't respond. "Look," he continued, "I know things have been rough. I know you and Mom aren't speaking. I know the family's giving you a hard time." "Because of you," I said. "Because of the situation," he corrected. "But I think I can fix it." "How?" He paused. Then, very carefully, he said, "Give Mom half." I blinked. "What?" "Half the college fund," he said. 43,000. Give it to her as a peace offering. I'll talk to her. I'll smooth things over. You'll be back in the family by Christmas." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want me to give her $43,000, I said slowly, "so she'll stop being mad at me." "I want you to show her you care," Daniel said. "I want you to stop being stubborn and do what's right. What's right is keeping that money for Emma." "Emma will be fine," he said, his tone hardening. "She's smart. She'll get scholarships. She'll figure it out. But Mom, she's hurt, Lauren. She's hurt and she's angry and she feels like you chose money over her. You need to fix this. By giving her $43,000. By showing her she matters." I laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. "She matters so much that she demanded my daughter's entire college fund at a public party." "She was emotional," Daniel said. It was her birthday. She got carried away. She tried to guilt me into giving her $87,000 in front of 40 people, I said. That's not getting carried away. That's manipulation. Call it whatever you want, Daniel said. But if you don't fix this, you're out. Permanently. No more holidays, no more family events. You'll be alone. I'd rather be alone than break a promise to my daughter, I said. He sighed. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I'm being a mother. You're being selfish. I'm protecting my child. You're destroying this family. She destroyed it, I said, my voice breaking. The second she asked me for that money, she destroyed it, not me. Silence. Then Daniel said, very quietly, You're going to regret this. And he hung up. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every text, every comment. You're selfish. You're ungrateful. You're destroying this family. Was I wrong to say no? Should I have just given her the money? Emma would survive without it. She'd get loans. She'd work through college. Millions of kids did, but she wouldn't have the same opportunities. She wouldn't have the same freedom. She'd spend the first decade of her adult life paying off debt instead of building a future. Is that what I wanted for her? Is that what my mother wanted? I thought about my childhood, about how my mother had always been there, when I was sick, when I needed help with homework, when I scraped my knee or had a bad day at school. She'd been a good mother in a lot of ways, but she'd also been controlling, critical, conditional. Love in our house came with strings attached. You were loved if you were useful, if you made her look good, if you didn't cause problems. And now she wanted $87,000 because she thought I owed her. I got out of bed and went to Emma's room. She was asleep, curled up under her blankets, her phone charging on the nightstand, a chemistry textbook open on her desk. I stood in the doorway and watched her breathe. She didn't know about any of this. Didn't know about the party, the fallout, the texts, the posts. I'd shielded her from all of it because that's what mothers do. We protect our children. Even when it costs us everything. I went back to my room and picked up my phone. I deleted the family group chat app, muted Aunt Diane on Facebook, blocked Daniel's number. I wasn't going to explain myself anymore. I wasn't going to defend my decision. I wasn't going to negotiate my child's future. I was done. The next morning, I did something I should have done years ago. I started organizing my documents, bank statements, savings account records, every deposit I'd ever made into Emma's college fund. Every receipt, every transaction, every piece of paper that proved where that money came from. It was mine, every dollar, earned through my work, my time, my sacrifice. Not my mother's, not Daniel's. Not the family's, mine. I put everything in a folder. I made copies. I scanned the originals and saved them to the cloud. And then I made a phone call to a lawyer. What they didn't know was that the college fund wasn't just savings in my name. It wasn't a simple account I could drain with a signature and a transfer. It was something else. Something I'd set up years ago after a conversation I'd never told anyone about. A conversation with my grandmother, my mother's mother, Grandma Helen. She'd been gone for 3 years now, but before she passed, she'd asked me to meet her. Just the two of us. No one else. I'd gone to her house on a Sunday afternoon. She'd made tea. We'd sat in her living room, surrounded by doilies and photo albums and the smell of lavender. And she'd said something I'd never forgotten. You're the only one who visits me because you want to, she'd said, her voice soft and tired. Not because you need something, not because you're checking a box. You come because you care. I'd smiled and told her it wasn't a big deal. It is, she'd said, and I want to make sure you're taken care of, you and Emma. She'd handed me a business card. A lawyer's card. Go see him, she'd said. He'll explain everything. I'd gone, and what I'd learned had changed everything. But I hadn't told anyone, not my mother, not Daniel, not even Emma. Because I knew, someday, this exact situation would happen. Someday my family would ask for something I couldn't give. And when they did, I needed to be ready. I had a plan they never saw coming. A plan that didn't depend on their approval or their understanding. A plan that was ironclad, legal, untouchable. And as the family grew louder, as the pressure mounted, as the texts and calls and posts piled up, I grew quieter. Because I knew something they didn't. The college fund wasn't just protected by my resolve. It was protected by law. 2 weeks after the phone call with Daniel, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Ms. Mitchell, this is Gerald Thornton, your grandmother Helen's estate attorney. I believe we should speak. Please call at your earliest convenience. My heart jumped. Mr. Thornton. I'd met him once, 3 years ago, right after Grandma Helen passed. He'd been kind, professional, patient as he walked me through the trust documents and the terms and the protections my grandmother had put in place. And now he was reaching out. I called him back immediately. He answered on the second ring. Ms. Mitchell, thank you for calling. Is everything okay? I asked. That depends, he said. I received a rather unusual inquiry this morning from your mother's attorney. My stomach dropped. What kind of inquiry? A request for documentation regarding the college fund established for your daughter, he said. They seem to believe there's been some kind of error. Or that the funds are accessible for other purposes. I closed my eyes. She's trying to force my hand. So it would seem, Mr. Thornton said, which is why I wanted to reach out to you directly. To confirm that you understand the terms of the trust and to reassure you that those terms are, in fact, ironclad. Can she challenge it? I asked, my voice shaking. She can try, he said. But she won't succeed. Your grandmother was very specific in her instructions. The funds are designated solely for Emma's education. No exceptions. Any attempt to access them for other purposes would be a violation of the trust agreement and, depending on the method, potentially illegal. I exhaled. However, Mr. Thornton continued, I suspect your mother doesn't fully understand the situation, and if she's consulting an attorney, this may escalate. What do I do? You do nothing, he said calmly. You've done nothing wrong. The trust is legal. The funds are protected. If your mother wishes to pursue this, she's welcome to try. But I can assure you, she will not win. She's going to hate me even more, I said quietly. Perhaps, Mr. Thornton said, but hatred born of entitlement is not your burden to carry, Ms. Mitchell. You made a promise to your daughter. Your grandmother made a promise to you, and I made a promise to your grandmother. We will honor those promises. I felt something loosen in my chest. Thank you, I said. Of course, he said. And Ms. Mitchell, if your mother does push this, if she demands a meeting or tries to escalate, let her. I'll be there. And I'll make sure she understands exactly what she's dealing with. 3 days later, my mother made her move. I got a certified letter in the mail. Inside was a single page, typed on official letterhead from some attorney I'd never heard of. Dear Ms. Mitchell, we represent Barbara Mitchell in a matter concerning the college fund established for Emma Mitchell. It has come to our attention that said fund may have been established using assets that rightfully belong to Mrs. Barbara Mitchell, either through inheritance, family contribution, or other means. We request that you provide full documentation of the fund's origin, including all deposits, sources, and current balance, within 10 business days. Failure to comply may result in legal action to recover said assets. I read it 3 times. Then I called Mr. Thornton. She's insane, I said. She's desperate, he corrected, and poorly advised. This letter has no legal standing. The fund was established with your earnings and a trust distribution from your grandmother's estate. Your mother has no claim to it whatsoever. So what do I do? You ignore it, he said. Or, if you prefer, I can respond on your behalf and explain to this attorney that they're wasting everyone's time. Do that, I said. He did. And 2 days later, I got another certified letter. This one wasn't from an attorney. It was from my mother. Handwritten, 3 pages. I skimmed it. Lauren, I don't understand why you're being so stubborn. This money should be used to honor me. I gave you life. I raised you. I sacrificed everything. You owe me this. If you don't do the right thing, I'll have no choice but to take legal action. I don't want to do that, but you're leaving me no choice. Please reconsider. Please stop being selfish. Please remember that I'm your mother and I deserve your respect and your gratitude. Love, Mom. I crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash. Then I texted Mr. Thornton. She's not going to stop, is she? Mr. Thornton, no, but she's going to lose. Let her waste her time and money. The outcome will be the same. I just want this to be over. Mr. Thornton, it will be. Soon. Trust the process, Ms. Mitchell, and trust your grandmother. She anticipated this exact scenario. A week later, I got a call from Mr. Thornton. Your mother has requested a formal meeting, he said. She, her attorney, and several family members would like to sit down with you to resolve this matter amicably. I laughed. It came out hollow. Amicably. Her word, not mine, he said. I've agreed to host the meeting here at my office. Next Tuesday at 2 p.m. You don't have to attend, of course. I can handle this on your behalf. No, I said. I'll be there. Are you sure? I'm sure, I said. I want to look her in the eye when she realizes she's not getting that money. Very well, Mr. Thornton said. I'll see you Tuesday. The days leading up to that meeting were the longest of my life. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. At work, I made mistakes, forgot to file paperwork, missed a meeting, snapped at a coworker who didn't deserve it. At home, I paced. I rehearsed what I'd say. I imagined every possible argument my mother would make and every possible response I could give. Emma noticed. Mom, are you okay? She asked one night, standing in the doorway of my bedroom. I forced a smile. Yeah, sweetheart, just work stuff. She didn't believe me. You've been acting weird for weeks. I'm fine, I said. Is it about Grandma? She asked quietly. I froze. What do you mean? I heard you on the phone, she said. Something about a meeting, something about the college fund. Damn it. It's nothing, I said quickly. Just some paperwork stuff. Don't worry about it. She crossed her arms. Mom, I'm not a kid. If something's going on, I want to know. I looked at her, 17, almost 18, old enough to understand but still young enough to be hurt by this, and I made a choice. Sit down, I said. I told her everything. The party, the demand, the fallout, the texts, the posts, the letter. Her face went pale. She wants the whole thing, she whispered. She did, I said. Now she's trying to take it legally. Can she do that? No, I said firmly. She can't. That money is yours, Emma. It's protected, and I'm not letting her touch it. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't want you to fight with Grandma because of me. This isn't because of you, I said, pulling her into a hug. This is because of her, and it's because of me. Because I made you a promise and I'm keeping it. What if she wins? Emma whispered. She won't, I said. I promise. She pulled back and looked at me. How do you know? I smiled. Because your great-grandmother made sure of it. Tuesday came. I dressed carefully that morning. Not too formal, not too casual. I wanted to look calm, in control. Like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. I arrived at Mr. Thornton's office at 1:50 p.m. The building was downtown, old brick, 3 stories, the kind of place that smelled like leather and paper and history. The receptionist directed me to the conference room on the 2nd floor. Mr. Thornton was already there, setting up documents at the head of a long, polished table. Ms. Mitchell, he said, standing to shake my hand. Are you ready? As I'll ever be, I said. Good, he said. Remember, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. I'll handle the legal side. You just need to be present. I nodded. At 2:00 p.m. exactly, the door opened. My mother walked in first. She looked older than I remembered. Thinner. Her hair was styled, her makeup perfect, but there were lines around her mouth and eyes that hadn't been there before. Behind her came Daniel and Stephanie, then Aunt Diane, then Uncle Rob, and finally a man in a cheap suit carrying a briefcase, my mother's attorney, I assumed. They filed in and took seats across from me. My mother didn't look at me. Mr. Thornton stood. Thank you all for coming. I'm Gerald Thornton, attorney for the estate of Helen Mitchell and legal representative for Lauren Mitchell in this matter. I understand you've requested this meeting to discuss the college fund established for Emma Mitchell. The other attorney, a man who introduced himself as Richard Kemp, cleared his throat. That's correct. My client, Mrs. Barbara Mitchell, believes there's been a misunderstanding regarding the origin and intended use of said funds. There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Thornton said calmly. But please continue. Richard Kemp opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Mrs. Mitchell has reason to believe that the funds in question may have been derived, in part, from family assets or inheritance that she has a rightful claim to. That's incorrect, Mr. Thornton said. We'd like to see documentation proving otherwise, Kemp said. Of course, Mr. Thornton said. He slid a thick folder across the table. You'll find complete records of every deposit made into the college fund. As you can see, all contributions came from Lauren Mitchell's personal income. With the exception of a trust distribution from Helen Mitchell's estate, a distribution that was explicitly designated for Emma Mitchell's education. Kemp opened the folder and started flipping through pages. My mother leaned forward. I don't care where the money came from. Lauren owes me. I'm her mother. She wouldn't even exist without me. Mrs. Mitchell, Mr. Thornton said, his tone still calm but edged with steel. I understand you're upset. But the law doesn't recognize owing a parent as a basis for claiming someone else's assets. She's my daughter, my mother snapped. She's an adult, Mr. Thornton said. And the funds in question are not hers to give. They're held in trust. My mother blinked. What? Mr. Thornton pulled another document from his folder. The college fund is not a simple savings account. It's a legal trust established by Helen Mitchell 3 years ago with Lauren Mitchell as the trustee and Emma Mitchell as the sole beneficiary. Kemp looked up sharply. A trust? Yes, Mr. Thornton said, with very specific terms. He slid the document across the table. Let me read the relevant section aloud, he said, so everyone understands. The room went silent. Mr. Thornton adjusted his glasses and began to read. The funds held in this trust are designated solely for the educational expenses of Emma Christine Mitchell, including but not limited to tuition, fees, books, housing, and other costs directly related to her pursuit of higher education. No withdrawals, transfers, or distributions may be made for any other purpose. Any attempt to access, redirect, or claim these funds for purposes other than those explicitly stated herein shall be considered a breach of trust and may result in legal penalties, including but not limited to restitution and criminal charges for financial coercion or elder abuse. He paused. The trustee, Lauren Mitchell, is bound by these terms and may not alter them under any circumstances. The beneficiary, Emma Christine Mitchell, may not access the funds until enrolled in an accredited institution of higher education. Any individual or entity attempting to interfere with, manipulate, or unlawfully claim these funds shall be subject to legal action. Mr. Thornton set the document down. In short, he said, the money is untouchable by law, by design, and by the express wishes of Helen Mitchell. My mother's face went white. That's ridiculous, she said. That's the law, Mr. Thornton said. Kemp was scanning the document, his expression growing more and more uneasy. This is ironclad. Yes, Mr. Thornton said, it is. But my mother started. There's more, Mr. Thornton interrupted. He pulled out another sheet of paper. Your mother, Mrs. Mitchell, left a letter to be read in the event that anyone challenged this trust. He unfolded the letter. My mother's hands were shaking. Mr. Thornton began to read. To whom it may concern. If you are reading this, it means someone in my family has tried to access the funds I set aside for my great-granddaughter Emma. I want to make my intentions absolutely clear. I established this trust because I saw, over many years, how my family treated Lauren. She was criticized, judged, and made to feel small. But she never stopped trying. She never stopped loving her daughter. She never stopped sacrificing. Lauren is the only one who visited me because she wanted to, not because she needed something. She is the only one who loved me without wanting anything in return. And for that reason, I wanted to protect her. I wanted to protect Emma. This money is for Emma's education, not for gifts. Not for guilt, not for control. If you're trying to take it, stop, you're wrong. And Lauren deserves better than you've given her. Signed, Helen Mitchell. The room was silent. My mother's face had gone from white to red. Daniel was staring at the table. Aunt Diane's mouth was open. Uncle Rob looked away. Kemp closed the folder. Mrs. Mitchell, he said quietly, there's no case here. The trust is legal. The terms are clear. And any attempt to challenge it would be ill-advised. But she's my daughter, my mother whispered. That doesn't give you the right to her assets, Mr. Thornton said, or her daughter's future. My mother turned to me, her eyes blazing. You planned this, you and your grandmother. You planned this to humiliate me. No, I said, my voice steady. We planned this to protect Emma. From me, she spat. From anyone who would put their own wants above her future, I said. She stood up, shaking. You're selfish, you're ungrateful, I'm done, I said, standing as well. I'm done explaining, I'm done defending, I'm done negotiating. That money is Emma's. It always was, and it always will be. You'll regret this, my mother said, her voice breaking. No, I said, I won't. I looked at Mr. Thornton. Are we finished here? We are, he said. I walked out. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice, shrill, desperate, furious. But I didn't turn back. I walked out of that building into the cool afternoon air and felt lighter than I had in months. The weight I'd been carrying, the guilt, the doubt, the fear was gone. I'd stood my ground. I'd protected my daughter. I'd kept my promise. And I'd done it without breaking. The days that followed were strange. Some family members apologized. Quietly, privately. A text here, a voicemail there. Cousin Jessica, I'm sorry I judged you. I didn't know the whole story. Uncle Rob, you did what you thought was right. I respect that, but most stayed silent. My mother didn't speak to me, didn't call, didn't text. Daniel sent one message. Daniel, hope you're happy. I didn't respond. Aunt Diane unfriended me on Facebook. I didn't care. Because the people who mattered, the people who actually cared about me were still there. Emma, my friends. The coworkers who'd supported me through this mess. And Mr. Thornton, who sent me a follow-up email a week later. Ms. Mitchell, I wanted to let you know that your mother's attorney has officially withdrawn from the matter. There will be no further legal action. The trust remains intact, and the funds are secure. Your grandmother would be proud of you. As am I printed that email and put it in a frame. 2 months later, Emma got her college acceptance letter. Full acceptance. Financial aid package. Scholarships. And thanks to the college fund, she'd graduate debt-free. She cried when she opened the letter. I cried too. That night we sat together on the couch, looking at the acceptance packet, and she turned to me. Mom, she said, thank you. For what? I asked. For fighting for me, she said. For not giving up, I hugged her. I'll always fight for you, Em, always. She pulled back and smiled. Great-Grandma Helen was pretty amazing, huh? Yeah, I said, looking at the framed photo of Grandma Helen I'd set on the mantel. She really was. I thought about that conversation we'd had in her living room 3 years ago. The tea, the lawyer's card, the quiet insistence that I was worth protecting. She'd known. She'd known my mother would do this. She'd known the family would turn on me. She'd known I'd need protection. And she'd given it to me, not just money, but a shield. A promise that I could keep my promise. Choosing my daughter didn't make me selfish. It made me the mother I needed when I was young. And I'd do it again, 1,000 times, without hesitation. If your family ever tried to guilt you into handing over money you saved for your kids, or for yourself, you know that crushing pressure. You know what it feels like to be called selfish for protecting what you built. Subscribe and share your story in the comments. Tell me how you stood firm or what it cost you. This community sees you. We understand the weight of that choice. Click hype to help this story reach others who need it. Standing up to family is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. If you've been there, subscribe and become part of our community. Let me know this story helped by clicking hype. And tell me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.